And as we just saw, that storm caused San Francisco to totally lose power, affecting 130,000 homes. And we also saw that the Google robotaxi service called Waymo, as a result, went down. Those vehicles stalled out right in the middle of the city, forcing drivers to have to weave around those stalled vehicles at traffic intersections, which caused dangerous road conditions as well as a traffic buildup. Joining us to discuss what happened is Lauren Fix. She's an automotive expert with Car Coach Reports. Always great to see you, Lauren. What happened to the Waymos?
Thanks. Well, they work off of the grid. So the grid means they need power, which is traffic lights and all the lights that you need, to get places. So if they can't see and they can't connect to the system, and the system, of course, is completely dark, they just stop. So it would be like if the lights went out in your house, instead of you going, okay, let's get some candles and flashlights or whatever it might be, you just stop and freeze. And that's exactly what they do because they're computers. So when there's no power, your computer doesn't work. And there's no cell phone backup and there's no satellite backup because they didn't set it up that way. And that's also true with the power grid in San Francisco and across California. There's no backup. And that doesn't make sense when you're talking about a major city like San Francisco, the number two state in the country, well, the number one if you're talking about total income, and they don't have a backup power supply, partly because they told those that do natural gas and coal to get out of their state. And so now, if you want to rely 100% on electricity, that means if you don't own a car, because it is very expensive to own a car in California and in San Francisco, and you rely on Waymo, you're not going anywhere unless you want to walk.
Yeah, I mean, it exposes, as you say, a couple dimensions here because the cars run on electric, so they would have eventually lost all power. But their ability to know what to do went down from their programming because the traffic lights went down. So, what further does this expose about sort of these automated systems that rely on sort of remote controls and computer programming?
Well, many of the comments, if you look on social media, pretty much say it all. Have your own vehicle, have your own escape route. I mean, what if there were fires? What if, and they've had plenty of those in San Francisco and across California. How do you escape? You're not going to call Waymo because it's not coming. You're not going to be able to call an Uber. Again, all of this stuff works not just on cell service, but they also work on electricity. And that means the computers that control those Waymos or any other robotaxi puts you in a tough position, which means you need a way to escape. You need to have your own protections. And when you listen to the mayor get on social media to say, hey, we don't know what's going to happen on Tuesday, you might lose power again. We're coming up on the holidays. You would think that the mayor of the town would have said, listen, we need to invest in the infrastructure. That would make sense because many of those substations haven't been updated since the 40s. And if they do go down, they're going to replace them with the same old components, not the same, but new version of the old components in those substations. And they're going to be right back in the same situation. Did they overheat because of the draw from electric cars? Did they just overheat because of age? You don't know that until someone does the investigation. By that time, you should have had a backup plan in place a long time ago, much like that of the fires where they didn't have any water in any of the reservoirs that they needed. This sounds like a Gavin Newsom problem and certainly something that the country doesn't want to deal with because you have to remember if Gavin Newsom wants to run for president, this is what he plans to do to the entire country.
Now, in terms of the dangers that these stalled out vehicles caused,
Mhm.
vehicles had to weave around them. Sometimes they were right near
Yeah.
an intersection, and then the traffic built up as a result during an emergency, no less. And so this is kind of the worst case scenario, an extreme example, corner case. But most of the feedback on these robo taxis for the function that they perform is that people
Mhm.
actually like them. So, what does this say about the potential in the future for these programs to scale to other cities? Is it just about creating better, backup plans as you're talking about, or do you think there are
Well,
flaws in the,
yeah.
the program itself?
There's a lot of flaws actually. And I've been in robo taxis myself, but I think one of the things that people like is you don't have a driver that you're forced to talk to. You don't have to communicate with a stranger. You're not getting in a car with someone you don't know. But then comes the backside of that when you're in the middle of a ride and the vehicle stops suddenly because of a power outage or whatever it might be, a computer glitch. Can you get out of the car? There's a panic involved. You're in a vehicle in the middle of an intersection. And then you start thinking, oh boy, this is not good. And so having a man driver is the best choice. But then again, you do have other ramifications. obviously driving yourself is good, but there is a parking problem in San Francisco. Not everyone has a garage. Most people don't. And parking on the street is always a challenge. And so people are thinking robo taxis are an answer versus owning your own vehicle and paying for insurance. But I think the bigger picture is relying 100% on autonomous vehicles is not going to work. We've been riding in them, believe it or not, since 2007 is the first time I was in a robo car. It wasn't that brand. It was actually an Audi. We went from Palo Alto to the Consumer Electronics Show, and they proved to us that it works. And I've also been in Volvos in Georgetown. The problem is other drivers on the road, and the problem is there's still hacking involved. And now we have another problem to add: power outages, which means they can't communicate. So they stop, and that puts a danger for everybody else on the road or any other system that may have a backup. But Waymo doesn't. I'm sure that they're working on that. But the fact is, at this point, we are far from prime time. And that's why only certain cities see it. I mean, Tesla's working with robo taxis in Austin, Texas. I think they're starting to expand that into bigger areas. But we really have to realize that there's no backup plan, whether it be cell service, any type of backup plan. If they can't communicate, you put yourself in danger. The car can be replaced, you can't be.
Well, as Mike Tyson famously says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Lauren Fix, automotive expert, great to talk to you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this, and check out our car review channel, Car Smarts. You can support me by buying me a cup of coffee, and if you want even more content, check out the links in the description. I'm Lauren Fix. Thank you so much for watching.